Okay. We will call the meeting to order of the Executive Committee. First order of business is approval of the March 28th, 2023 minutes. Can I have a motion, please? Betty, second, Brandy. Are there any comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Okay, moving on. Informational items. Do we have anything, Springdale, related?
Madam Chair, I don't have anything. I don't know if Ms. Daly has anything she'd like to add or not.
No, only that the foundation is having a Memorial Day race
Oh, okay.
to raise funds.
Okay, great.
And that's former member Pastusha who's in charge of that.
Okay, thank
Oh,
you.
Madam Chair, I actually speak of Member Pastusha. That might be a vacancy now because I believe she was going to be taking over the board member role of the foundation
Okay.
versus the county board's appointee.
He's the chairman of the foundation, so instead of being a county board appointee to the authority board, she's going to be a foundation appointee to
Okay.
the authority board.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. County Auditor? Okay, Headington Oaks Financials, I think we were all here for the report from the Finance Department. We okay? Do we need to cover that again? Okay. American Rescue Plan Act Summary. Scott, do you want to?
So that's in your packet. Happy to answer any questions, or if you want Heather to walk through the information, happy to do so. Just as a reminder for the committee members, at next month's committee meeting, we'll have a policy discussion on how we allocate ARPA dollars going forward.
Okay. So are there any questions? Okay. We'll move on. Peoria County Enterprise Zone Report.
So that's on page 15 of the packet. It's a monthly report of any activity that we see in the enterprise zone. We have two enterprise zones, an urban and a rural. A couple months ago, we had amendments to the urban enterprise zone. Today, later on the agenda, there is amendments to the rural enterprise zone. This report just details any qualifying activity in either one of the enterprise zones during the reporting period.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, we're on the Joint Commission on Racial Justice and Equity update.
So since this committee last met when the co-chairs of the steering committee presented the annual report to you, they presented the same annual report to the City Council. They also conducted a press conference to try and get the word out, and then have been working to also to continue to get that word out. They are based on feedback that you provided, Madam Chair, from your Limestone Chamber of Commerce Business Association presentation. They'll actually reach out to all the libraries in the county to see if librarians would like to get a short stack to be able to of the hard copy to make available to patrons. It also is available electronically on the county's website, and we can always put that link in the weekly update if you need it.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Central Illinois Living Laboratory update.
All right, thanks, Madam Chair. So we have our Kurt Bielabreski from Hanson Professional Services, who's going to come up and give a brief presentation and update for you on what the Central Illinois Living Laboratory is for some of the board members that are new to the board and the committee, and then an update on kind of where we are in activity.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. As Scott said, I'm Kurt Bielabreski from Hanson, and we're a consultant. We do a lot of the infrastructure work for you all. You guys are a pretty good customer, designing roads and bridges and other things. But we also do smart and connected community work, program management, and one of our keystone customers is Distillery Labs in Peoria County in the city of Peoria. So if you remember and recall, I've been here probably 2 other times. About a year ago or so was probably about the last time. So there was, with some of the changes to the board, Scott asked me to come and provide another presentation and an update of where we're at. The first grant that we have is actually starting. I think there's one more quarter left on it, and we've had quite a bit of progress, and we've had some things come to fruition and see the plan moving forward. So just to start with. Whoops, I hit the wrong button, I think. Yeah, so the very first part of the presentation, just what is Distillery Labs? Well, Distillery Labs is an incubator and an accelerator for startups, and it's done for the local community to empower entrepreneurs. And really, a lot of the entrepreneurial activities through Distillery Labs are meant to be looked at through a diversity, equity, and inclusion type lens. So that was really where we started. But one of the first parts of that is that civic institutions like Peoria County, City of Peoria asked, we've heard a lot about smart cities and those kinds of things. How can we use that to better our services, and to help entrepreneurs in this space? So we did a lot of work to figure out what that looked like, a lot of market research, and we basically figured out that there needed to be a real-world testing environment to advance these types of services and these types of technologies and things. There just wasn't a lot of folks willing out there to take that step and let entrepreneurs into the right of way to test their business models and their technologies. So we thought maybe that's a good place to start. From there, we started reaching out to partnerships, or to folks, I guess I should say, public agencies, private companies, universities, community organizations, to collaborate with them to figure out what we can do to provide, almost like an entrepreneur would, to say what can we do to provide a good service for these folks. And this is really a list of all the folks all the organizations that we've reached out to or that have become involved. Maybe a couple are missing, but it's just to show you like the real, I guess, breadth of how many folks have been involved. They vary pretty substantially from telecoms like T-Mobile, Verizon, to power companies like Duke Energy and Ameren, all the way to universities like MIT, Carnegie Mellon, and Bradley here in the University of Illinois system, which this is a part of. It's a part of the Illinois Innovation Network. So it's not just local folks. I mean, there are local institutions that have really taken the lead on it, but it's pretty wide as the kind of people that are interested in this. So Central Illinois Living Lab, or SIL, like we like to call it, is really aligned around 3 different agencies, public agencies, and that's for grant opportunity reasons, in order to find funds to help operate and move this forward, and even to help incentivize and bring entrepreneurs to the lab. So the first one is IDOT, the Illinois Department of Transportation. They've been one of our biggest supporters, quite honestly. We have the grant that I just talked about, that I've been here to talk about in the past, is getting ready to wrap up. It was $1 million grant with a $200,000 or an $800,000 was IDOT federal dollars, and $200,000 was split between the county, the city, and actually the CEO council. So that was the first part, and then there's a follow-up to that. That's the master plan services, which is really the lead on where the city and the county are getting together to provide a master plan to really start to figure out what civic innovations are necessary that we want to incentivize through the lab to come and test and try to improve those services and improve the lives of the people that are in the area that we designated. The next is the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and the reason that is because this is actually a lot of it's an economic development activity, trying to bring startups to the area, trying to help them grow here and be a part of our community, and really try to hopefully a home run would be to find the next natural fiber welding or find that next big employer that we can bring to the region. And then the last is the National Science Foundation. It's because they define a lot of these things around smart and connected communities, what it looks like, how they incentivize its funding throughout the country, where can these things be done, what types of services and opportunities are looking to be solved or provided to solve problems that people are facing. So a lot of the core tenets that we're looking at around here are mobility, accessibility, economic opportunity, safety, environmental sustainability, and just the general well-being and quality of life for folks, and doing it through civic innovation that helps with diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that's what Distillery Labs' main mission is. So when we do go forward with the master plan and start looking for that, we'll be engaging county staff, city staff to really try to provide those KPIs and those benchmarks and those standards in order to develop that and be able to judge how successful the implementation of the technologies and things are. So here's where we start to really see some of the progress and what we've done. And this is a map of the area. It's a little difficult to see, but it's essentially Adams Street to Main, and then and I can provide an update through this, but it's Adams Street to Main, and then Main Street all the way around to Western, and then everything in the middle of that. It's essentially, I think, the part of the it's part of the innovation district that's downtown. It's a little bit, it hits Bradley, some of the medical areas downtown, and then some residential zones. So it's meant to have a mix of different, so that it can provide a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurs to come in and try things and make it attractive for them to do so. This is the area that's actually covered by the one of our foundational pieces of effort, and that was the right-of-way access and data sharing agreements that we had presented to the city council, the city of Peoria, for their approval, because most of this is their right-of-way. And looking through that, and really we spent, we had a couple of meetings there where we presented this and worked through that piece and worked through with their corporation council to make sure it hits the, I guess, the topics that they would need it to be for people to be using the right-of-way to do these tests. And all that goes to SIL and to Distillery Labs to be in their documents, so that every time there's a user agreement, there's the brokerage agreement that we're mentioning, and those efforts were taking place so that these entrepreneurs can come and work through this, and work through and find a home here in Peoria, hopefully. Some of the next things that we've been working on are a 3D digital twin. A lot of that's taking place on Main Street, all the way up through to Bradley. Some of it in the Bradley area for accessibility reasons, to do some tests and some checks there. And then we were also working on a Distillery Labs cloud data warehouse. So what that basically means is that we're one of our projects is to put out IoT sensor, Internet of Things sensors for green stormwater, and to show how much water is actually getting infiltrated back in with some of the different improvements that the city's making, and work with an entrepreneur that the city has purchased some sensors from, and then see how that kind of benchmarks and moves forward. So that data will be collected, and this is where the warehouse part comes in, is that data will be collected and then made available to researchers and entrepreneurs throughout the Illinois Innovation Network at Distillery Labs. So think about someone in the University of Illinois system, or that wants to do some work around sustainability or resiliency and needs rainfall data and stormwater data, that they can then come to Distillery Labs and use that data and then try to test out their premise. So those installs will be happening starting this summer/fall, and then that data will be collected, and hopefully there'll be many other types of these kind of things that we'll do, not just this first one, but we have to start somewhere, right? From here's some startup activities past what I just talked about. The first one is Mach 9 Robotics. They're actually out of Carnegie Mellon. I mentioned Carnegie Mellon in that first slide. I say kids, but they literally started in one of their parents' garage, and they have a piece of software that processes LiDAR data, ground penetrating radar data, and that Distillery Labs will actually get, or the SIL participants will actually get access to their software to be able to look at the digital twin data and the ground penetrating radar data to develop new services or techniques. Deep Walk is out of the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and they use cell phone LiDAR information that's collected to check ADA compliance. And they do it currently for sidewalks, and they're wanting to move into buildings and to campus areas and all these different places. So they're working with Bradley to actually check out a bunch of their campus to see where they're at on that. Grid Matrix is a Apple alum, founded by a bunch of Apple alums, that they use the cameras that you see at intersections to track traffic congestion, air quality, and crash identification. So a lot of near-miss crashes or different crash types. I think as of yesterday, I believe, they have their software up and running on 9 cameras around the city of Peoria at intersections. And then a lot of these folks come in and out of town to run their pilots, to do, at this point, to look at it, look at the areas, those kinds of things. So that's, more hotel rooms, more flights in, that's the hope, is it just starts spurring more and more economic opportunity. And then On Its Solutions is actually a G Beta alum, so a generator alum, that the county helps fund, bring that to our entrepreneurial ecosystem, where they create a smart pedestrian lighting system that essentially looks like a can light for and it's connected to the vehicle and also to the pedestrian, and it lights up when there's somebody that activates it. More like a pedestrian's in the way, it lights up, and then it sends a signal to a car and says that, hey, there's a pedestrian approaching, and hopefully then you can see them better because there's more light. So there is likely going to be up to 3 different locations for that. We're still working through a couple of the particulars through that brokerage agreement to figure out where those things are going to go, but they'll basically be in that general zone that I talked about, somewhere around there, and be installed. And then the last one, this just started recently. It's a startup, again, out of the G Beta ecosystem that's there at Distillery Labs. It's called Drizzle. You might have seen some news information about the entrepreneur, the founder there. She's a high school student from Dunlap that actually graduated early from high school, and took a gap year to found a company that does smart irrigation systems. So she's done it mostly all herself, all the coding and everything. Essentially, you put a sensor in the ground, or what we'll do for this, hopefully for this pilot, where as we talk to her, is that you put the sensor in a planter box or in some of the areas around, and then it makes sure that you get the right amount of water for the plants and the types of soil and things that are there. So it saves money on the water, hopefully, saves money on the amount of effort it takes to do the maintenance, so on and so forth. So the hope is that she's a homegrown talent that we have, that we want to keep investing in, and that we keep her here, and that she gets to do her pilot and bring potential customers in to see how she's doing, or how her product works. So the last of the activities, I mentioned the data warehouse, and we're starting with the green stormwater monitoring. We're talking with Pearl Technologies to try to figure out exactly how that's going to go and what that's going to look like. That's ongoing. And then the real big thing is startup recruitment, because these shouldn't be the only ones that we have, right? We want to keep bringing them in. So the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council and Generator, through their whole network, are encouraging folks to come here. They're attending conferences. That's how we got Grid Matrix. Some of my connections have been brought in, Mach 9, but some of the other, basically their staff, like Chris Setty's staff and Nate Dominigini, their staff there at Generator, are through their networks going to conferences and things, and basically advertising to come to Peoria to do these things. And the hope is that it continues on, and that that we keep bringing more and more folks in, because it does seem like there is a demand, given the situation that we've already seen with these folks coming in to try this out. So with that, I'll take any questions or any ideas that anybody has for us to improve what we're doing.
Any questions? Steve?
You answered the question I was going to ask with your last comments of startup recruitment, and I guess I'll just make a comment around that of anything we can do to improve visibility of what we're doing, the opportunities for startups or inventors, creators to come here, test their ideas, be part of our fabric and part of our community. Would be greatly welcome, and anything that we can do as a county to help promote that, that would be great.
Well, I think one of the things that you're doing, to the county, to the board's credit, is helping fund the G-Beta program. That network goes across the world even. So that really is with them coming in and agreeing to help advertise and bring that in, that's a huge thing. I think the next thing is that we want to keep our talent here that is here. So talking to Bradley and being a part of their big idea that I think just finished up recently, being a part of that, really advertising through that these kinds of situations exist. I actually sit on Dr. Blair, her group that is looking at the program that helps startups, across the whole spectrum, get their work and get their companies up and running. Those kinds of things are really creating that foundation for that situation. And I would say the other part is that the Illinois Innovation Network is a big deal from the standpoint of it connects you to UIU, to the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And I'm not just a proud alum, but I think it's one of the 5 or 6 largest entrepreneurial ecosystems in the country at a university. So it is something that being connected to that and trying to bring those folks, bring in urban planning students, and they have smart city classes, be out trying to, get those folks in to see what we're doing and to see how they can come in and be a part of it, I think is always important. I gave a presentation to some urban planning and engineering students not too long ago that came in as a part of that, that were at Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. They asked me to come and tell them about what was happening.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I followed Peachtree Corners down in Atlanta has a lot bigger footprint with their technology center, I'll call it. But anything else, I'll kind of bounce back to Peachtree. They actually give tours, and it's a kind of a tourist thing now for people that go into Atlanta. I went in probably 6 months ago. I was there on a trip and made the effort to go over there. So if we can start, as we build up some things that we can demonstrate and visually show to people to come here and attract people that not only to do their study and their creativity, but also bring it as a tourism type of attraction. I think that would be a good thing in the future. Just to highlight Peoria.
I would agree and add that as a part of my duties with Distillery Labs, and the SIL, we had the city of Springfield had heard about what we were doing, and they asked to come up and and I gave them a tour in March and walked them around, talked about all the startups and the things that we were doing and how that spurs that work. The startups really appreciate that because it gives them an opportunity to say, to tell other people about their work. And then if we're helping them grow their companies, it gives them the visibility to be here. And so Mach 9 is likely to get a project out of that effort, and that really starts to create that snowball momentum and get the word out that, and quite honestly shows that we're doing something kind of cool here that not a lot of people are doing.
I'll throw the last is opportunities for some venture capital funds. So people come in and say, this is really cool. Can I invest in what you're doing?
Yep.
That's another win out of this if you can attract outside investors who want to come in and be part of these startups. But no, thank you for what you're doing.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you. Okay. We are actually going to be moving one of our resolutions up to an informational item, which will be the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Plan. We're just going to have a discussion this month on that, and then next month we will be taking action. So, Andre?
Testing. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well today. My name is Andre Allen. I am the inaugural Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer with the County of Peoria. And this is my esteemed colleague, Ms. Brittany Graves, our Human Resource Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Generalist. And we are very excited to be before you all today to present our 4x4 relay race diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. I want to commend this body, current board members and board members past that have experienced attrition for taking the commitment to invest in this work, not only to improve my position, but to improve Brittany's position. Many organizations have said that they want to embrace this journey, but they don't put the resources behind it. But you all and previous board members decided to. Also want to publicly acknowledge County Administrator Sorrell as well too. He's been a great resource and a great supporter in this work as we move forward. And so an overview of today, we'll begin with a brief introduction. Many of this is in your packets. And then we're going to go through our professional personnel that we have leading this space. And then we're going to go into the 4 legs of the 4x4 relay DEI race plan. And then we'll end with a conclusion. So as far as our introduction, the county board the County of Peoria recognizes the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and in creating an inclusive and welcoming workplace and community. Our plan is entitled the 4x4 Relay Race DEI Plan, and it focuses on 4 legs: talent attraction and retention, professional training and development, minority and women-owned business procurement, and external stakeholder engagement. It is led by myself and Brittany. I started this role this past October as the Chief DEI Officer, and my core objectives for moving this work are focusing on access and equity, inclusion, participation, learning and diversity, community engagement, and leadership and commitment. And now I'll have Brittany come and talk a little bit about her role and just a little background about herself.
Hi, I'm Brittany Graves. I'm going to be leading the talent attraction and retention portion of our plan. So I will be giving you an overview of that in just a little bit, but just a little background on me. I'm born and raised in Peoria, graduated from Richwoods High School. Before getting into this position, I worked for Illinois Secretary of State for about 10 years. So I was a PSR there for the first portion of my career, and then I ended it being an informal hearing officer for McLean County and Macon County. And then I heard about this position, thought it would be an awesome opportunity for professional growth, and thought it would be great to work under Andre, who's been doing awesome work in Peoria County.
And we're very fortunate to have Brittany. She has definitely been a great asset. And so when you all think of a 4x4 relay race, and some of you may be previous participators of track and field activities. I know board member Salser is a former track and field head coach. Every leg on a relay relies on each other. So I can have a personal PR in leg 1, but if I fumble the baton handoff to Brittany, we all lose. And so every leg that we're going to describe today relies on each other in order for us to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion within the County of Peoria. Leg 1 is our talent attraction and retention leg. Leg 2 is our professional training and development leg. Leg 3 is our minority and women-owned business procurement leg. And then leg 4 is our external stakeholder engagement leg. So Brittany's going to go into our first leg, talent attraction and retention.
So like Andre said, I will be leading the talent attraction and retention leg of our 4x4 plan. The objective of this plan is to make Peoria County as diverse as the community that it serves. So we want to make an effort in hiring from our underrepresented communities, such as people of color, women, members of the LGBTQAI plus community, as well as people with disabilities. So the first thing that we did to really start developing our plan was analyze the data. So we analyzed the data from our EEO reports from the last 3 years, so 2020, 2021, and 2022. Nancy from HR had a beautiful spreadsheet with all that information. I just made a report to make it a little bit more digestible and understandable for me. Once we analyzed that data, that gave us really a baseline of where we're at in Peoria County in terms of diversity. So we took that information and decided to make a collaborative approach and have meetings with every individual department within Peoria County government. We've actually held about 5 of those meetings. In those meetings, we discussed the EEO data for their particular department, and then we gave them a brief description of our plan that we're presenting today, as well as surveying them. So we gave them a survey with questions about their hiring practices, any barriers they find when it comes to hiring particularly diverse groups of people. We also ask for feedback as far as do they even consider DEI when they're hiring. So we took that data that we've had so far that's really given us some good qualitative information, giving us some insight into areas that may need some improvement, as well as areas of best practices that are already being implemented and that we don't really need to worry about and we will continue to use. Our goal with these meetings are really to create a safe, inclusive environment. We didn't want to come off as accusatory. We want this to be a collaborative effort. The people that we've met with so far have been very receptive and welcoming, which has been awesome. So we realize the importance of fostering buy-in and collaboration throughout the departments, and that will ultimately increase the likelihood of the success of our plan. In addition to meeting with the department heads, we are also going to be offering some training opportunities. Those opportunities will include some unconscious bias training, some culture competency training, as well as some inclusive workforce training. And Andre will talk a little bit more about that training in a few minutes. And then while we were kind of developing our plan and really developing what my role will be in particular in this journalist position, we learned that the HR department really doesn't have anyone that solely focuses on talent attraction and retention. So I will be stepping into that role. I will be attending job fairs, college fairs, other community events where I can promote Peoria County jobs. I'll be there. I'll be able to answer general information about the jobs that are currently available within the county, as well as answer questions to potential applicants. And then with that information, I will be able to refer them to the appropriate departments, and then hopefully that creates a more diverse hiring pool. And then lastly, Andre and I will be collaborating with the Racial Justice and Equity subcommittees. So I will be a part of 5 of those committees. Andre will be a part of the rest, and we will just be attending those meetings, being a source of support and resource in helping them achieve their goals. And then that in turn will help us achieve our talent and retention goals as well. So that's just an overview of the first leg, and Andre will take it over.
And you said you was nervous. Good. Oh my goodness. And you said you was nervous. You did amazing. Great job. Great job. But so leg 2, when we talk about professional training and development, I made all this fuss about having a clicker and I'm not even using it. I apologize. But leg 2, professional training and development. Our objective is to foster an inclusive culture and create a sense of belonging by consistently offering team members opportunities for exposure, education, engagement, and growth. We prioritize the development of diversity, equity, and inclusion skills and knowledge through ongoing training and development. We want to be a resource for our internal departments. Me and Brittany have started that journey. We've actually done a series of trainings at the Juvenile Detention Center. And so we will continue to be that resource to our internal departments here within the county of Peoria. We will also be a external resource as well, too, for County of Peoria entities. I've recently done trainings at Illini Bluffs. I went out to Farmington High School, and then last week, myself and the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer of the City of Peoria, we presented at the Illinois State Probation and Services Conference as well. And so we want to be a leader in this space. Some short-term goals that we have achieved. We administered an annual countywide survey to assess employee perceptions of workplace culture, particularly related to DEI. So many of our county employees completed that employee engagement survey. Appreciate Gretchen's from our marketing team's collaboration on that effort. Some other goals that we want to consider is we want to create standardized policy development guidelines for integrating DEI criteria to regulate and to regularly review and update existing policies. We want to make sure that there's not any unintended biases that exist within our policies here within the county of Peoria. An example of that, there's this concept called blind hiring, where when a hiring manager receives applications before he or she or they administer those to the search committee, they will review certain descriptive information, maybe the applicant's name. I've even seen it where they'll remove the name of the institution the applicant attended, because if you see someone and one applicant went to the University of Phoenix and the other applicant went to Harvard Law, you're going to possibly side with the applicant that went to Harvard Law based off of your own implicit bias, because we see maybe Harvard as the Michelin star of higher ed institutions, but the University of Phoenix candidate may be the more ideal candidate for you because they have the soft skills necessary. So those are some things that we're going to look at when it comes to our training and our development, working with our different department heads. We'll continue to offer ongoing professional development opportunities. And so we look at creating employees resource groups. We want to have a monthly series of conversations. I did this at my previous institution when I worked at Methodist College. We had, they were called snack and shack discussions, where we would have a topic within the space of DEI, and we would come in and we would bring our lunches and we would talk about implicit bias and microaggressions and things of that nature, and having these ongoing opportunities to engage in this work, but create a safe space where people can grow, where people can be vulnerable, and where people can be offered grace as well too, because sometimes we all need a little bit of grace. And so that is our leg 2 of our professional development leg. Leg 3, this is our minority and women-owned business procurement leg. The objective is to promote diversity and inclusion in the Peoria County government by creating opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses, increasing workforce diversity, and fostering economic development. So this particular leg is very important. We want to make sure that we're giving our best efforts when it comes to our minority and women-owned business procurement processes. There has been collaboration already. I've collaborated with Jim Smith in finance and Heather, and we're going to be talking about how we can use our existing technology. I believe it's the Munis software, where we can start tracking to see how many minority and women-owned businesses we have registered with the county. We're going to offer off some community opportunities where communities members can learn how to get registered as a vendor with the County of Peoria, and in making sure that we are performing our due diligence to hit those goals that we have listed. We have already started that process as well too with the health department project, and so myself and River City and Gabe Jaja from Human Development Capital have been working on making sure that we're doing our best to hit those workforce participation goals and those enterprise goals. We want to be a government that, again, provides opportunities for everyone, but especially within the minority and women-owned business procurement space. And our final leg, this is our external stakeholder engagement leg. So we want to develop partnerships. We want to engage with external stakeholders to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in the community. We want to conduct outreach activities to increase awareness of the Peoria County's commitments and some of our initiatives that we have in this space. And we've already started doing that. Current examples of that, I am a member of the Social Determinants of Health grant, and part of that committee is myself and members of the health department, members of the city of Peoria team there, Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. I'm also a member of the Transportation Equity Grant Committee with myself and Amy from the Highway Department team, and many other external stakeholders. And so we want to be collaborative in this space. We understand that this is a tide that raises all boats, but we can't do it alone. And so we want to collaborate when possible with external stakeholders, as long as it fits within our DEI plan. So next steps. Our next steps of our plan will be to define what metrics we will use to measure success. That's going to be very important. And so once this is reviewed by you all and voted on and hopefully for implementation, we will be defining what metrics we will use to measure success. And then we're going to work on creating a tracking tool and a dashboard so that way we can be very transparent with the improvements and work that we're doing in this space to our community is very important. And then we needed to define on how frequent we want to report to you all as an executive committee and a board. So in conclusion, our DEI relay race plan focuses on the 4 legs of talent, attraction, and retention, professional development and training, minority and women-owned business procurement, and external stakeholder engagement. By using the track and field metaphor of the relay race, our plan is to illustrate how each leg is dependent on one another to achieve success for our constituents. As we implement this plan, we are committed, to creating an inclusive environment where all employees and stakeholders can thrive. By working together to pass the baton smoothly, we can achieve our overall goal of creating a more equitable and inclusive environment for the County of Peoria. We can prioritize equity and not compromise excellence. And that is a quote by Governor Westmore of Maryland. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions? Steve?
I guess a comment and a question. Going through this, first off, thank you for going through the detail, walking through it. It helps. You know, you read it and you read it and you read it and you see things, but when you hear it, it helps bring it to light. So with that, my first impression is it's a good start. It's, getting us that step forward that we need. As I look at this, I would like to make sure that we integrate this into our fabric, our culture, our DNA of the county, meaning your first 2 items are typically HR associated items, right? Attraction and retention, and then also training and development falls into HR. So I guess my ask would be, as you work through this, make sure that you're working really close with the HR department to integrate the processes, the improvements that you learn, so it's not 2 paths, that you and Brittany aren't doing one thing and HR is sort of disconnected. And I think you made some comments, and Brittany made a couple comments working with HR, so I'd ask you to look at that. The one on procurement, the number 3 leg, again, I know we track that in procurement. I'd assume you'll do the same thing with the procurement team, as you mentioned. Again, with the concept of long-term, we want this to be part of our fabric and integration into the processes and things that we live and breathe and do. So those are my initial comments around what I hear, and thank you for getting us started.
Sure. No, thank you, Member Ricker. If I could respond, we definitely want to be very collaborative. The beauty of Brittany's position, and if you think of her title, Human Resources DEI Journalist, and so there is natural collaboration, and there will be that with our Human Resource team. We've connected with our Assistant County Administrator, Shauna, and Angela in Human Resources as well, too. Before we even went out and started meeting with departmental leadership, we wanted to make sure that they saw what questions we were going to be asking, because at the end of the day, we all need to be singing from the same hymn. And we all need to have that buy-in in order for us to move forward. So you're absolutely right. We will continue to be collaborative, not only with our human resource team, but especially within the finance when it comes to that procurement process. The procurement process, that's pretty new to me. So I'm definitely relying on Jim Smith, and he's been a great ally in this space and teaching me how to run reports. And Heather just gave me access to Munis, and I'm kind of scared to log in, but I will because it's going to be very important that I have that new competency. So I'm very excited. But collaboration will be the key in order to move this work forward. You're absolutely right, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Brandy.
I just wanted to commend you guys on all the work you've done. It's just great work, and you did great. I don't know why you was nervous.
That's what I said. I told her.
So again, we're going to bring this forward next month as a resolution. And so be thinking about it. If there's any questions, reach out to Andre, to get those answered before next month. So any additional comments or questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. So the next resolution, designating ordinance amendment number 2 for Peoria Rural Enterprise Zone. Can I get a motion on the floor, please? Brandy, second. Phil, okay.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. If you recall, last month or a couple months ago, we brought forward amendments to the Peoria Urban Enterprise Zone. As you maybe heard in a prior committee meeting, we have two, the urban and the rural. This action before you are amendments to the rural enterprise zone. We don't do as many amendments in the rural enterprise zone. This is actually, since its inception in the mid-teens, the second one. We've already done 6 in the urban. The amendments before you that are in the packet and that were presented at a public hearing that we've already had are twofold. The first component deals with making sure that the authorizing ordinance is compliant with state statute. As if you recall, when we presented the urban enterprise zone amendments, there were changes in the last legislative session related to enterprise zones, and we're making the exact same changes here that we made to the urban enterprise zone earlier this year. Second component always deals with changes to the map or properties that are either included or excluded in the enterprise zone. And forgive me, the agenda briefing, which starts on page 16 in your packet, actually has a little bit of holdover language as it relates to this from the urban enterprise zone. Shame on me for just doing some basic copying and pasting, but that realistically is what happened. So really what we have today is a much smaller number than what's in the agenda briefing, and that is just 12 parcels that are in Hannah City, the village of Hannah City proper, and then unincorporated Peoria County. The majority of our parcels are near the Kickapoo exit of Interstate 74 on the north side of the interchange. We'll be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have today. I did want to recognize Sally Hanley from Greater Peoria EDC. Sally, as part of our contract with the EDC, helps us administer both zones. So she coordinates whenever we do an amendment, all the amendment activities. What's before you today has to be approved also by the City of Chillicothe City Council, the Village Board from Princeville, the City Council from Elmwood, the Village Board from Hannah City as well. So Sally does all that coordination work. She also does the activity tracking. So, we had earlier on the agenda the Enterprise Zone report. That information is collected by Sally and the team at the EDC, and then they report it out to us each month whenever there is activity. So with that, Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Just FYI, Scott tells me there could potentially be a change to prevailing wage threshold on this, but until I know that for sure, I will be a no. So, again, I will take the vote. All those in favor? And I'm a nay. So, okay, thank you. The next resolution we have is agreement between the County of Peoria and the Minority Business Development Center. We do have Denise here who's going to be giving us a presentation, but can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Camille, and a second. Danny? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. We have
Either microphone will work, Denise.
either microphone, yeah.
If you want to sit or stand. Your choice.
Now Not that I need it, but thank you. Thank you all for allowing me a few minutes to present some information. Some of you that know this information or have been to the office quite frequently, others maybe not so much, but that's okay. You have an open invitation. If you don't have a folder of your own you want to take a look at, I know some people were sharing, I have extras that you can take a look at. And if you like to keep them, you may keep it. If you like to leave it and I can pick it up, I will be sending all of this electronically to Scott, and so he can send it to you electronically if you like. So thank you for allowing the Minority Business Development Center, actually the Black Business Alliance, to come before you today. The Black Business Alliance is our parent organization name. And at this point, I'd like to tell you what our motto is. Our motto is, we help keep your business in the black because the only color we see is green. And so I say that because just last week we had someone call our office to ask, do we help white people? And I said, yeah. Yeah, we help everybody because at the end of the day, I think white people want to make money in their businesses too, right? And he kind of laughed. He says, yeah. I said, well, yeah, come on down. And so with that, though, we also have our partner, the SCORE and Small Business Development Center. So as we develop people, and we've developed them at a certain level, and then we have a warm handoff to the Small Business Development Center to take them to the next level. And we have an agreement with Crissetti and the Distillery Labs and GPEDC. So we have resources that we are pushing people around to so that they understand everything is not in one place, that at a certain level, just like when you go to school, you went to one building when you were in K through 12, and then you went to another building for high school, and then you went to another building for college. Kind of the same concept. So let me take you back. And first, I want to reference some of the things that were just said in the last presentation. I'm reminded when I was on the Peoria County Minority Business Ad Hoc Committee. Was that it, Rachel? Back in 2011. And what you're doing now, I have to applaud you because that is what was trying to get started then. Rachel Parker, who was on the county board at the time, led that committee, and I was on that committee for the county for about 3 years before I moved over to do some things in the city. Our major renovation has just ended in our building, in 2020, I should say, just in time for the pandemic. And so we had this beautiful building that you all helped us to renovate that we had to shut down because of the pandemic. It was that period of time that bolstered our exposure to the public because now everything had to go virtual. We had to figure out how to let people know we were still offering our services, but in a virtual environment. We added IT services as a direct result of the pandemic because when we speak about disparity, when we speak about digital divide in the minority community, most people think it's, oh, they don't have access to the internet. It goes well beyond that. Well beyond just access to the internet. We're talking about being trained to, as some people would call it, can you teach me how to bring up Zoom? You know, how do I do Zoom? And something as simple as many of you understand how to do was a huge hurdle for folks to get to Zoom. You may recall the school district was having difficulty because there are a lot of kids, not only did they not have access to the internet, they didn't have a computer. And so a lot of what we are doing now in this space came out a result of all of that. People found us as a result of that. We are not a social service agency. We are an economic development organization. Like the SBDC or GPEDC, we are going the extra mile by trying to help rebuild the economic investment on the south side of Peoria, and investments made in our building is just a small part of that. We talked about, I heard mention Hannah City and Chillicothe. In Chillicothe, if you recall, there is a Triple Dipple. Have you ever had Triple? Oh yeah, yeah. They came to us before they got started for information about how to get started. And we're proud to say we count them as one of our alumni. If you've been to the mall and you've visited with the Selfie Studio, we were the reason why they opened a month later because we told them, you're not ready. And we want you to be able to survive. And so they didn't open until we felt like they were ready, and they agreed, then they were more ready. Just yesterday, we received a call from a business in Hannah City. And so we're based on the south side of Peoria, but we have a wide reach of folks that we're trying to help. The space we started out with was 1,500 square feet in a building that's next door to the South Side, what used to be South Side Bank. If the old folks, I shouldn't say old folks. Those who've been around longer know South Side Bank was on Southwest Adams. It wasn't a dagger, Steve, stop that. On Southwest Adams. So we're in a building that when we moved into this building, the former chair of your board said to us, Denise, this building is only valued at about $35,000. What are you going to do in this building? And I said, Andrew, I have a plan. And as a result of me showing that plan, we took over that building, and now that was 2015-16. And now we have more than 1,500 square feet. We're in the whole footprint, which is about 10,000 square feet. We have spent on that corner on Adams and Garden just over $750,000 in just hard renovation to a building that was only valued about $35,000. So that's an investment in a property that is reaping benefits, I believe, for the county. Back then, when we first came out looking for funding, one of the things that the city of Peoria used to be irritated when I would say was that the county board was first dollar in. And I kept saying that, and I continue to say that, because you are now just over $100,000 of investment since 2015-16. When we first started talking about this, I believe the funding came in 2018-19. It was like $25,000 a year over a 3 or 4 year period. And so you're already $100,000 in. And I keep telling that story, and I'll keep telling that story until the city of Peoria matches what you've already given. So they don't like when I say that, but it's okay. It's the truth. You may have heard that we opened up, and I'll go over the folder here in a moment. You may have heard we opened up a satellite office in Bloomington. That is a training site. Here we have, when we first started, when you first gave us your first dollar, there was one full-time employee and a very dedicated volunteer. Today, we have 6 full-time employees, 2 or 3 of which live in 05, and 3 part-timers. And that would not have happened had you not seen the vision and invested in this organization. The other gentleman talked about how Springfield has come to talk with them. Well, 2 years ago, the city of Springfield came to talk to us to find out, what are we doing in the minority contractor space? As a former city council person, one of the things I used to always harp on is that we don't have enough minority contractors. And the organization started out, all we did was help people start businesses. And then all of a sudden, we realized that there weren't enough minority contractors, so we talked to a lot of general contractors and to find out, so what is it about minority contractors that you're hesitant about? And under the condition of confidentiality, I won't mention those, and because the names I would mention you would recognize. We attempted to try to address those issues. Ameren, Illinois has been our major sponsor of our minority contractor development program for the last 4 years. This year, their investment is $175,000 in what we are doing. And they've been doing an investment in our organization every year for the last 4 years. Now we're moving more into the energy efficiency in these contractors, but they are committed to staying with us. So we started out with just helping people start businesses. We moved into minority contractor development. Because of the pandemic, we were forced to move into IT, training individuals not only how to do Zoom, but there's at least 4 other meeting platforms. We also began teaching individuals a certification, 2 classes, computer fundamentals, and IT, it's called A+ computer repair. Those 2 classes, the first of which, they're both national certification, so after they take the classes with us, they can test in our building. 2 years ago, when we first offered these classes, Facet Technology, who is one of our partners, I don't know if you know Facet Technology here in town, they said, well, you know, we'll take folks after they've completed the A+ class. Last year they said, do you have any of those fundamental people? Because they are having difficult time bringing people in to IT. And we were proud to say that we've been able to send 2 individuals to Facet for hiring. They made job offers to both of them. The one individual, his first name is Carl. Every couple of weeks I get a call from Karen, who's their HR person, asking, do you have 5 more like Carl? Well, I don't, but we're recruiting them. And one of the things that make it attractive is that we're right there in the community. You know, they don't have to take a bus and then take another bus, and then you miss your bus, and then you can't get another bus or try to get a ride over there. We're right there. People walk to our office. People bike to our office. After class, I've taken some folks home to their homes because their ride didn't come. We've had folks coming for our AARP Computer Essentials class. AARP is one of our sponsors. They come in on the city lift, and then they go back home on the city lift because it lifts their wheelchair. And we are teaching elders how to run their computers. And so, and I joke with one gentleman that now your grandchildren can get to you electronically to ask you for more money. I resemble that remark because I've got a couple of those. So I talked about we started with starting a business. Then we started with minority contractor development, moved into IT. But you know what? Sometimes people shouldn't start a business. Some people just need a job. And we were already providing soft skills and life skills as part of our getting folks ready in the IT. So we've brought all those things together in what we call our workforce solutions area. So now, in addition to already providing that, we're collaborating, bringing all those things under one program manager. So in your packet, now that I gave you an overview of some things to think about, what I wanted you to have on the right side of your packet, it says programs and services. And behind that programs and services sheet, there are about 8 or 10 of our most recent classes and programs. And I'm gonna tell you, when my staff member had them laid out on the table 2 days ago, last Friday, to put them in the folders, I got tired. I'm like, no wonder I don't get any sleep. Look at what we're doing. And luckily, I have staff that's able to do that. As I said, I started out with 1.5 people. Now I have 6 people and 3 part-time people doing this work. Now, when I started this organization, I also started a radio station that supports and promotes what we're doing. So we have a person who thought he was retired who now runs our radio station. You know, just because, you know, people tell you they retire, Gary Moore, there are things that you have to do lest you sleep in the garage. Now, on the other side are some other pages that you'll see. And if you flip through on your left side, you see some pages that kind of give you a sense of what our building looks like on the inside. You see that in one case, I'm receiving an award at Bradley University Small Business Development Center, Turner Center for Entrepreneurship, being presented by Representative LaHood and Congresswoman Bustos at that time, because we're doing some things. We are a community navigator for the city of the Peoria and the city of Bloomington. We are on the board, the county board's committee that is being led by Eden Blair, trying to figure out a way to provide funding to small business owners. To the point of the last presenter, we are part of that third leg that he's talking about. We focus on women, minorities, and veterans in our organization for business startup. Others as well, but those are the ones we are actively going out to find. I'm one of those people who have been trained to enter folks into the Gabe Jaja system. And so as they come through our office, we're entering them into the system, not only for contractor purposes, but for procurement purposes. In addition to the city of Springfield that has come to our office, I had the DEI person and the assistant city manager, city of Bloomington, came from Bloomington to our office to find out what is it that we're doing in that whole minority contractor space that people are talking about. I've had folks from East St. Louis come to our office, and I've gone down there. They would like for me to start this process down there. There's rumblings out of Galesburg because they see what we are doing, and they want to find out how they can do it as well. Now, what I've said to these folks, I cannot have organizations in all of these cities, but I don't mind helping you figure out how your city can do it for you and just consulting with you on that. I got a call from the Ohio Chamber of Commerce. They found us online. Who knew? So you can say that you have an organization that you invest in that is nothing like us, between lower than less, what do they say, below I-80 in St. Louis. There's nothing like what we do here with our own radio station, with the programs that we have. You see the programs and services that are listed there. And that's just the start of what we are able to do because of your investment. And we would hope that you would see that this is a good thing for the county. And I gave a packet to Andre as he was sitting there because I said, dude, third leg. Lastly, he also mentioned, and I have a copy of it on my phone, he also mentioned the Commission on Equity, the Joint Commission on Equity, on Racial Justice and Equity. When you go to that brochure, your annual report, turn to page 13. On page 13, that's the economic development page. On that page, you indicate your next steps. There are 3. One is training for livable wage jobs, workforce. One is building minority economic development, and the other one is minority business development. We are doing all of that right now. You don't have to recreate the wheel. We're doing it. And with your support, we can continue to do it and grow it. Right now on our website, we have 4 job openings because we are growing at such a pace that we need additional individuals in our building. We have 2 program managers, and each one of them are running a program, 2 programs. And it's when it's me and you're passionate about it, you'll stay all day and come in early and go home late. Other people kind of want to have a life. And so in order for them to do that, I'm trying to not burn them out, but bring them help. One of the things that was mentioned in that annual report was PCs for People. We are the PCs for People permanent location for computer distribution. We have PCs, desktops, we have laptops, we have hotspots, all that they offer for free to low to moderate income individuals. So if that is something that, we felt like we've been able to leverage your investment to connect with these organizations to provide this to the community. And it's not about, the color you are. It's if you're low to moderate income, no matter where you live, you're eligible for these services. I think I said a lot, and I could say a lot more, but I'm going to stop there. Because Paul had a suggestion, and I like it. Steve's always got something to say, and Daniel's been smiling like the, Cheshire cat over here.
I want to bring your husband back on TV 25 so we watch it.
Well, I don't know if I'm here for that. I don't speak for him. I did. You know what? And he's not retired right now. Okay, I'm sorry. This is not part of this, but he asked a question. So he's teaching at Quest as the music teacher. Yeah, yes, and he loves it. Yeah, I don't see him. He's not retired. If you see him, tell him his wife is looking for him. Okay, thank you. Questions. I know you have questions. Paul, please tell them your suggestion.
Well, we haven't heard from Denise for a few years with the COVID and all that, and I said I would like to hear from her on a quarterly basis to see what's going on. She's telling all this. It makes me excited that we did invest some money years ago, and she's doing exactly what she said she's going to do, and we're seeing the results, and that's what I like. I would like to. I'd like to see her office flooded every day with people in there wanting help. That she would need to hire a lot more help to help them. But I'd like to see her come back every quarter to give us a report on all what's going on. It probably, if she does it every quarter, probably won't take as long because it's been a couple years since she's been able to be here. But this is, I'm very excited for you for what's going on. You're doing, because I like the minority businesses for the trades and that. I hear that I don't. I provide products for them, but I always hear that they're always looking for the business owners and that they can't get enough of them. So if that's more stuff, I'm not sure how you get them all trained and all that for them, but I've had some of the gentlemen come out with their working for other companies, bring stuff out to my place. So I see that the need for it because they can't get enough, and so.
Well, we have a contractor program that is going on. It's just ending, but another one will start, and we invite people to come to talk to the contractors that are there. I mean, Ameren just did 2 weeks ago. In fact, they brought for 2 weeks. They came into our space and they did training for energy efficiency for ex-offenders, and then they put them to work. And so,
a bunch of truck drivers. Well, we can't find. We cannot find truck drivers anywhere.
There are three truck drivers right now on Gabe's list that I know about for certain. One's Leo Carey Brown Trucking. He's right here in 05. Okay.
Carey, yep.
Heinz Trucking. He was a mentee under Carey Brown. And so we've got those two that come right to mind because they stay in my office. The third one, his name doesn't come right to mind, but there are truckers that are out there. In fact, Carey Brown called me about the work that's being done, with the schools. They were tearing down the schools, and he's like, that's what I do. I haul that stuff, and no one's called me. And I said, well, I'm not on the council now. I can't, I don't have those connections, but this is who you call. Because I still get those phone calls, and I just direct them to where they need to go to make sure that's happening for them. So, yeah, I got truckers for you. Awesome. Steve, you always had a question every time, so you got to have a question.
No, first off, I love passion, and when I see passion such as yours, it really makes my day. So thank you for that and the commitment you have. Paul wants to see you quarterly. I don't know if we can burden you quarterly, but I'm going to suggest we see you annually, and maybe even I'm going to ask for an amendment to our resolution here, where in the last paragraph of the resolution we talk about, I apologize, I put my glasses on. The attached resolution authorizes the approval of the funding for a 3-year agreement, and I want to add 4 more words to that are reviewed and approved annually, so we can have your smiley face and your passion come back at least annually. Give us an update, and it gives each of the committee members here on the board the opportunity to get an update. And as the board changes, in 3 years, we'll probably have some different committee members because the committee reorganizes every 2 years. So my ask for an amendment would be to add those 4 words in there of reviewed and approved annually after the 3-year agreement. So I guess I'd ask for Chair if we can make a second and a motion to make that amendment first.
Okay. Do we have a second? Paul? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I'm going to tell you why I like that. Because after the first year and I come back and I blow you away quarterly, and at the end of the year with all that I've done, you'll say, you know what, we need to give her more money. And since we have to approve it anyway, let's up the amount. So I like that. Thank you.
So that's a goal for you.
Yes.
We all have a goal in life, so that's a good goal. I like it.
Okay. Are there any other questions before we take the motion to make the change?
I just wanted to say, with being that, I would be curious to know why we cannot add that to the standard of anyone that we are giving that to, that those 4 words be added to every time for everyone, so not just this situation.
Okay. All right. Any other? Betty?
And in addition to all that's been said, I would encourage everyone who have not gone down to their office, to go, because it will speak volumes right there. For everything that we're doing, what we're spending, you'll want to spend more money.
Okay. Any other comments before we take the first vote? Okay. The first vote will be for the change in the language. All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Okay. And now we have to motion to accept the new amendment. Is that correct? Okay,
Amended.
as amended. Camille, and a second. Betty, okay. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all, I appreciate it. And
If you do, that's great. Electronic guy, so.
All right, we are now moving on to our discussion of standing committee agendas. We will start out with infrastructure. Phil?
Okay, we got two resolutions. The first one is resolution that has to do with Maxwell Road, and all of you know this Maxwell Road project over the next 2.5 years is going to cost some money, but it's also going to make a lot of workers happy because they're going to make a lot of money, I think, out there working that job and so forth. And of course, we've already got. I'm trying to think of the name of that. Engineering firm that we hired, Crawford, Murphy and Tilley, and they've been doing well for us. I talked to Amy about their work and so forth, and she's very pleased with them. But rather than tell you all about the bridge that we're going to rehab and all the widening of the area where we're going to have 3 lanes and so forth, the one thing that Jeff Gillis brought to us yesterday had to do with the building of the sidewalks on the west side of Maxwell Road from about Faber Road down to Middle Road. And that'll be on the west side. And on the east side of that road, they're going to have some alternative means of transportation and so forth, like bicycles, recreational lanes and things such as that. Now, the one thing that we liked yesterday in the committee meeting was that we found out how Amy and he had been working with our regional planning, and they came up with the fact that Puats hadn't used all their money and so forth, and so Puats kicked in a little bit more money for this sidewalk project and so forth. And when they had proposed it to our committee, it was $192,000. And then with what we got extra from Puats, and they're going to keep working with Puats on some things because they're doing a good job of communicating with them. It's $135,000 and some odd dollars. So actually, we got a little bit more money than we had anticipated. So that helps us along the line. The next resolution has to do, of course, with the maintenance, as it says here, and the maintenance material. And we know that Amy has been good about the shares that she purchases and so forth. Now, if you look at our amount of money, it says $3 million. She's not going to spend that $3 million on, and this is going to be for pavement markings. And she will determine, how much to buy and so forth. And she's not extravagant. If anybody's worked with her, you know about Amy. She's done a good job as a county engineer and so forth. But we buy the material, the city does the work. And the city is kind of persnickety about what type of material they have to use in their machines and so forth. And so she somewhat had a difficult time finding. She finally found what would please the city to use, and that was in a place called Swarco, I think it was, Texas. I'd never heard of the place, but there's a lot of places in Texas I haven't heard of. But anyway, I thought she would be here today, but she did talk to our counsel, Jeannie, about the cost and so forth. I don't have the cost right here to tell you today, but she'll have it by the time we have our regular meeting. But those are the two resolutions that we did adopt. Thank you. I bored you to death, I know.
Next is Ways and Means, Betty.
We had no resolutions, we had some great information, and that was fixed.
Okay. Land use, Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We had our reports that we filed, and then we had 3 zoning cases. The first one was David Herman to do it. He's going to have a trucking business run out of his home out in the country. There's some. He was going to use 2 trucks instead of normally 1, so there's a little bit more in detail, but it passed. And then the next 2 were the same people. The one of them was for Airbnb. Roughly, they've got a hunting. They have a hunting club per se where they train dogs to hunt and shoot the guns around them so the dogs get used to it. And so then they had to have a like an Airbnb permit for the house that the people that would come out to the hunting preserve staying overnight. So everything passed unanimously, and that's all we had. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is County Op. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. For county operations, we had 1 joint resolution. It's a resolution for the Tyler Enterprise Supervision Software, and this is for the probation department to track data. And their current system they have today isn't effective, and it would cost them up to additional 3 FTE manpower to track and do the data the state of Illinois requires. So the addition of this software system, $370-some thousand, is coming out of the IT capital fund. So the fund is there, it's available. So it was unanimously approved, and it was also the same resolution was put in front of the Finance, Audit, and Legislative Affairs Committee. That's all.
And that would be my report too, so for finance, so I don't need to repeat that. Thank you, Steve. Okay, moving on. We are at public comments. Do we have any public comments? Miscellaneous? Okay, we'll be adjourned. Thank you.